Hi, everyone. This is Aaron, and you are listening to Walnut Notes, the official podcast for the members and friends of FCBC Walnut. For this special episode of the podcast, we're going to step into our 11th grade Sunday school classroom, where I interviewed Jon Ng about being a Marine and how it relates to his Christian faith. Thanks for listening. But first, I want to ask Jon, because we don't know anything about how did you become a Marine? What's your story?
In high school, I had basically was playing a lot of video games. This Counter-Strike, version 1.5 or something like that. So I think for me also, there's a part of me that just didn't, as I said before, I think in the first Sunday school that we had, I didn't care for life. It was basically a total disregard. So, for me, I've always been the guy who wanted to have experience in different things. Part of that experience was to, understand what it is to take a life. So when I decided to, I didn't know what I was going to do in the future. I thought it was along the lines of law enforcement. So I decided, the Marine Corps would be a good switch instead of just doing the normal Asian thing, which is school. Right? So I knew I was going to do community college, so I just figured I would not have to do SATs at all. I'd just go into the military. And community college. So that's why I went. That's kind of how it occurred. Yeah, not the best of intentions. I wanted the experience. The experience is not. There was a part of me that basically said, well, to a certain extent, if people around my social life, which was here, didn't go, then who would go? So I was like, I'll go. I don't really care about my own life anyway. And the experience would be good. Like, it would be fun to actually do some of those things. Use hand grenades, use rockets, shoot a lot of guns, shoot a lot.
What did your parents say?
My parents were very hesitant. Obviously, they don't want me going. I had joined prior to being 18. I signed up prior to being 18, so they actually had to sign for me. So they were very hesitant. Yet at the same time, while I was going through the process, I told them that I wanted to be a rifleman. And my mom was kind of shocked. She didn't like it.
What's a rifleman? Rifleman is somebody who
carries... Basically the front lines. I carry a rifle. I'm in my team. And we storm buildings, breach areas, get shot at, shoot back.
And the climate for, the war, was that after 9/11, right?
It was after 9/11. 9/11 sparked Afghanistan, and then about a year later is Iraq. So I didn't join because of 9/11. I was actually in high school. I remember that day very vividly of going to class. Actually, it started when I woke up. I turned on my TV, which my TV was probably about that size right there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was those thick ones, right? And I turned it on, and I saw it, and I saw a building, just smoking, and I was like, what the heck is this? So I didn't really think much of it. Went to class. That's all we did. We watched the TV for the majority of the day. And basically, 9/11 occurred. So I believe I was a junior at that time. I had already been thinking about joining the Marine Corps. So it wasn't 9/11 that made me join the Marine Corps. It wasn't patriotism. It wasn't a duty to serve. It was basically my own selfish.
Why'd you choose the Marines instead of the Army or the Navy or any of those other things?
Marine Corps is the most prestigious. Marine Corps is the hardest in terms of the front lines. Army has their front lines. Marine Corps is also the front lines. To me, if I was going to join one, I'm just going to join the best. So in terms of boot camp, I think Army is about 9 weeks. Marine Corps is about 13 weeks of training. And then there's additional training after that. Marine Corps has a very prestigious past. They started off as, first off, the Marine Corps birthday was yesterday.
Oh.
243rd birthday. A lot of Marines drink on the Marine Corps birthday, partially because the Marine Corps drinks the most alcohol out of all branches combined. But also, in a sense, it is part of our heritage. The Marine Corps was born in Tun Tavern. So we were actually formed in a bar. I just love that heritage. It's funny.
Wait, what?
Huh?
What?
The heritage.
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 Got it.
So it's just funny how it works out. But with the Marine Corps, very prestigious, some of the best uniforms. We are rowdy. We are very depraved. Yeah, at the same time, there's a lot of good guys in the Marine Corps. Good educated guys, good uneducated guys. You will, since they're in the front lines, you will never meet a tighter bunch than people there. I've never seen anything as tight in terms of relationships there or out here in the civilian world. I just don't see it.
Were you scared to join?
I would say it was scary, but it was more like I'm really excited for the unknown. So there's a part of the unknown that is scary, but it's excitement of what's to come.
How does you're a Christian now. Obviously, you're teaching a Sunday school class, I think so.
I hope so too.
How does that reflect upon your experience, like when you were in the Marine Corps?
How does my you gotta ask that again.
So in the Marine Corps, were you a Christian?
Debatable. To a certain extent, yes and no. I think yes, because in light of God's sovereignty, He was always working in my life. I think He used Iraq to change me, to make me realize a lot of things. So yes, but then no at the same time, because there were a lot of things that I did in the Marine Corps that was not characteristic of a life that followed Christ. And that was more, long term. So it's a little bit of yes and no. I do see God's sovereignty in all things. But my core conversion would have been after Iraq.
What happened?
Basically, I came back, Iraq, I wanted to kill people, right? I just wanted to kill people.
Did you?
No. So, in a sense, I was kind of like let down. Yet at the same time, I had a lot of time to think when I came back. There was a lot of paranoia. I wouldn't really categorize it to the point of PTSD, but it's one of those things where somebody looks at you wrong, and I'm already thinking like how I'm going to react. So I was dealing with a lot of that. I was dealing with a lot of inner turmoil. there was definitely hate for certain race, and at the same time, I didn't know what to do when I came back. I knew I was going to school, but there was a time between for the next semester to begin, so I had nothing to do. I literally did nothing. That was a time where Hanley and I we connected, we talked a lot, hung out a lot of late nights, and I just told him, I don't know if I can go back to church, because in my erroneous theology, I thought that God would kill me for stepping in the church, because I kind of understood God as this God of justice, but no grace. So I thought that would happen. And when Hanley basically talked to me about God's grace, it was like a movie where your whole life just kind of does a flashback, but everything starts connecting. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
and so all the stories and all the lessons, everything connected because of grace, and I didn't understand that until that point. And so that is that's why for me grace is so tremendous.
Mm-hmm. So coming out of the war, you had this idea of Christianity. It sounds like you were scared to come back to church, and then Hanley talked to you, became your friend, and kind of shared with you the true gospel. Is that what happened?
I had already known the gospel. He didn't have to share the gospel with me.
Okay.
It was more, the words were this: I know you're saved because God is still working the Holy Spirit is still working in your life. The fact that you're thinking about this shows me that Spirit is working in your life. And he related it to God's grace. And so that made me understand. I mean, when I was in Iraq, I was totally godless. Didn't care for God, never prayed one prayer. I did get a lot of packages from people here, whether it was my sister's church, my parents, my family, the church here sent me care packages. And I spent time looking through those letters, and every letter was like, we're praying for you, praying for you. And that also, came into play where I was like, this is why God preserved me and my mental health, because people were praying, like God was watching over me, despite the fact that I was pretty much passively avoiding him.
What made you want to come back to church then after the Marine Corps? Because it sounds like after the Marine Corps, that would have been a clean way for you just to be like, hey, I'm not going to
break it off.
Yeah.
I think war gave me an appreciation for life, for family, for church. When I was sitting in your seat, I could care less. Could have cared less about people's lives. I played pranks on my teachers. They were great pranks. But I had no respect for people. I took advantage of everything. I didn't understand how important the church is in my life, or was in my life. I didn't understand how important my parents were in my life, despite the fact that, I got mad at them a lot. I didn't understand the importance of life, period, until Iraq. I came back and, as I said before, I thought a lot about it. And I realized church, in a lot of ways, helped me to grow. But I didn't understand that, and I couldn't see that. I was jaded to it because I always had it. But when you don't have it, that's when you appreciate it. So for me, I was like, I came back, and I appreciated the church so much more. I appreciated the people here. Some of your parents I appreciated. There were some parents that I yelled at when I was in high school, but I came back a little bit more mature and I made amends. And it was just not when you don't have something, that's when you realize how much it actually meant to you.
Do you think that for people like us, civilians, I guess, how do we see the world differently than you do, since you're a veteran? But not just the world, but even the Christian life. Do you think that there's some insight that you have, maybe?
Let me write this down. That's kind of lengthy. So veteran
insight
worldview.
Veteran worldview. That's a good way to put it.
With the
Christian, yeah.
Worldview and civilian worldview. Okay. Yeah. I think what I learned from as a veteran, first off, veterans are probably going to be the most passionate people you guys ever meet. Why? Because they've been in a situation where we put our lives online every single day. We put our lives online for mainly ourselves and our brothers and sisters who are fighting alongside of us. We don't think necessarily of you guys. Okay? We think of the people that are next to us. But in effect, it does, our fighting, our putting our lives online does affect you guys. So in that sense, we did serve for America. But the veterans, they are some of the most passionate people I've ever met. They know what it means. They have a greater appreciation for life. And that's why I think they're so tight-knit. If another veteran just came off the street into this church, he and I will connect. So, veteran worldview, I feel like we appreciate everything a lot more than most other people. Christian worldview is difficult as far as, a lot of veterans, I'm not going to say it's drastically different. I think it kind of depends on your theology. Christian worldview as opposed to the veteran worldview. I do think that Christians could definitely use the fact that the idea of sacrifice, right? Idea of sacrifice, we understand that. I think a lot of you guys don't understand that. I think you guys have a lot of things handed to you. A lot of things in the Marine Corps I had to earn. I had to earn my brother's respect. I had to earn their respect in terms of, okay, will this guy back me up or not? I think here, a lot of things are given to you from birth, and you guys don't understand how easy you have it. There were times where I had nothing to live in except for a cot for like 3 weeks. And I would strategically place a poncho liner to avoid the rising sun, because by 9 o'clock it was like 115, 20 degrees. So obviously I learned how easy I had it back at home. There have been times where I didn't take showers for weeks because I had no access to it. So I come back and I love showering. I used to take 30-minute showers multiple times in a day. So again, for the veteran worldview, we sacrifice a lot, yet at the same time we appreciate things much more. Christian worldview could actually use that. I think you guys can actually use that. I'm not saying go put your life on the line, but when it comes to sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice is who? Jesus Christ. And if you want to ask, if somebody ever asks you what is love, that is love. And that's straight up 1 John. I think 1 John 4:10. So can Christians learn from that? Yeah, absolutely. Civilian worldview, I would say it's kind of similar. I I think a lot of civilians nowadays, they don't really understand. They have a lot of things handed to them, so they don't really understand how good they have it. They're kind of jaded. There are people out there who don't understand us veterans, why we fight for the things that we fight for, why we can be so passionate in terms of some politics, although I hate politics, but some politics. So it's that to me is kind of what I see in terms of worldview, is the whole sacrificial theme. We understand it because we've had to put our life on the line for it. Everything else is just, honestly, I think you guys take it for granted. Like, just life itself. I do think you guys take it for granted.
How do you suggest that we not take it for granted?
Join the Marine Corps. If you want a little bit easier, you join the Army. If you want it easier than that, you join the Navy. Then easier than that, you join the Air Force. I'm just kidding, kind of. There's a lot of pride in me, okay? What was the question again?
If we are prone to take things for granted because we haven't had the same experience, what would you suggest we do to kind of open our eyes to see things a little bit differently?
Okay. For me, because of my theology, I would definitely say meditation on just the gospel itself. Meaning our depravity, the fact that God chose us in light of the fact that we don't deserve anything. When I came back, I didn't deserve anything. Because I realized how much I took advantage of everything. I don't deserve anything. I honestly don't think I deserve anything. What I have a lot. I've worked for it. But it doesn't mean that there's a person someone else out there who works just as hard and has so much less than I do. Why couldn't that have been me? But when it comes to, how we can understand that sacrifice and not take advantage of it, I really think it is the gospel, because we don't deserve God's grace. Jesus Christ died for us. If you can, imagine if your family got in a car wreck, okay? If you got in a car wreck, somebody pulled you from that car because that vehicle was burning. It was catching on fire. How much would it change your life? When you see that person, how thankful would you be? Would you probably treat him as family from that point on? Right? If he saved your life, he pulled you from a burning car, or you somehow just kind of flipped over that ledge and somebody saw you and you're hanging by one arm, somebody went over there and pulled you over. Okay. From that point on, there's a mental connection with that person. A mental and I would say emotional connection with that person, because they saved you. They literally saved your life. But that's what faith is in Jesus Christ when he saves our life. When he puts his life on the line. Not even on the line, he dies for you on the cross. One of the most torturous deaths in history, so that he can, despite how much sin you do, past, present, or future, he can turn to his Father and say, I died for this person. My blood paid for this person's sin. That's faith. That faith in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ should be the catalyst for you to understand that Jesus Christ just changed your life. And to not actively follow him in how you pursue your life and pursue Christ and pursue God, I think essentially is you're saying thank you Jesus, but I'm going to live life on my own. And I can't see, I just don't see that as true faith. If somebody really died for you, you would treat that person with the utmost respect. If he or she said, I need you to do me a favor, I need you to take me to the hospital right now, and you're taking like your SATs, you would probably drop that and drive him to the hospital. Why? Because he saved your life. You would go out of your way to do what that person needs. But when it comes to the Christian life, how many of us actually do that? At the core of it, I think we're selfish. At the core of it, I think you guys don't fully understand the gravity of the gospel and how faith affects your life. Because a faith without works is what? Dead. Right.
Thanks, Jon, for doing this. And thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcasts here at FCBC Walnut. Don't forget that you can get all of the episodes of Walnut Notes delivered via YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. Just search for FCBC Walnut. And for more resources on our Sunday school classes, visit our church website at fcbcwalnut.org. And don't hesitate to stop by the church office or visit one of the welcome booths on Sundays. There are many opportunities to learn, grow, and serve at FCBC Walnut, so let us know how we can help you to get plugged in. I also want to encourage you to subscribe to Walnut Weekly, our social media email newsletter. We deliver fresh resources for free and provide peeks behind the scenes from the social media ministry of FCBC Walnut. Subscribe today to stay up to date so you never miss out. Find the link in the show notes, but you can also find the link under the resources menu on our website, fcbcwalnut.org. Thanks. See you soon.